All systems go, repair people downstairs, airport day, have to check out in 1 hour and 13 minutes. It continues, my friends. We're on the run in inner space. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Artist Journal, November 14th, 2025, broadcasting from the non-space of the mind. It continues. So wonderfully, a new sponsor, Art on Tezos. Isn't that fabulous? So Art on Tezos, we will see it in a second. The doom scrolling show, we're going to take a closer look. I will leave the links below, but first we begin with Agnes. Agnes, who I don't think I've ever started the show with. This was just a really cool, kind of fun art piece. Keeping the show as fresh as I can here, making sure we're still recording. Weird.gif. Weird.gif by Agnes, picked up by Ebzer Deity, 1088 by 1084, 118 weird frames. So I guess kind of reminiscent of net art, but, you know, where you put a bunch of GIFs together. Kind of feels like a bulletin board type thing where you just post random GIFs is, I guess, what this is. It's pretty cool, though, isn't it? I kind of wish I'd picked this up. I thought it was pretty reasonable at 66 Tezos, 66.69. And that was just listed. It's a good-looking piece. And yeah, I think it's kind of a self-explanatory piece, weird and random. And again, feels like net art, doesn't it? But maybe for 2025, cats, clowns, everything. So fun work there. Here is Agnes's work, who we've seen, I don't know if who is on www.so. Life is too short. And we're going to see in the doom scrolling show as well. Actually, I have this doom work. And also here. So it's hard to tell. We're going to take a closer look at what's going on at the doom scrolling show. Another classic, though, which I had to show. Deadly Delight here, America. I don't think I showed this one, but it was a classic, also by Agnes here on Object. So again, I guess we see a Grim Reaper and some zombies and a whole bunch of GIFs. Interesting combination, too, of what looks like kind of like a photographic reference and cartoons. And so, you know, just from a purely compositional point of view, it is interesting. I mean, it's reminiscent of what I like to call the sketchbook compositional style here, which is not necessarily worrying about a specific or credible, we might say, narrative space. Here, you could argue there is a narrative space. And what I mean by that is there a space that we might consider like three-dimensional that you could believe you're in? With the sketchbook style, when things are just kind of juxtaposed together, there is no, what I'd argue, narrative space, so to speak, at least not a three-dimensional one, not a traditional one. So here, it's kind of a combination, it's tempting to say, of a traditional narrative space we see with this almost parking lot situation, but then interrupted by GIFs here, and this little blinking eye has my attention here at the top left. So just kind of cool, works kind of reminiscent of Baudrillard here with America. We're going to see a cool article actually coming up. Someone just wrote a bio on Jean Baudrillard. We will take a look. So here, a big thank you to Art on Tezos. Thank you for sponsoring this week's episode. So doom scrolling is the show in question here, and a lot of kind of classic Tezos artists, we might say Canik Zapata, Zofie Ogor, Agnes Evergrace, who we just looked at, Guru Hirina, Aesthetic Computer, Elna Frederick, Jess Mack, Françoise Gamma. As you can see, No Hygiene, many classics here. So we'll take a close look. Haiti Rockette, Mishiyasu. So too many to mention here, but we can mention curated by Kika Nikolela. And so here, this collection brings together artists that draw or belong to a range of internet art-related movements, spanning from web-based experiments to today's meme cultures. That includes net art, which I think we could say we just looked at. You know, interestingly, here I am 460 episodes later. I don't think, like, I'm not an expert in net art, that's for sure. We might have to take a closer look, actually, in a future show. GIF art, glitch art, game art, spam art, vaporwave, brain rot, which of course we were learning about earlier, meme art and crypto art. They reflect on our compulsive online consumption and the broader condition of oversaturation that defines contemporary life. So here are, who is this? This is Stippin Pixel. With some pixel art, here's Mishi Asu, and we see some more scrolling. As you can see, they're part of a larger project, Doom Scrolling, which will be presented in Berlin. So this was presented at Art on Tezos in Berlin, and also at the Centre Culturel Wallonie Bruxelles in Paris during the Biennale Nemo. And it will, I have to say, Paris is mind-blowing in terms of the history. Like, I'm, a 20 to 30 minute walk from where many of my heroes, like Jari, lived and, were born, lived, and died. It's quite something when you look at that stuff on the map. Anyway, let's continue. It will be permanently in the website of the Fine Arts Museum of Le Locle in Switzerland. Curated by Kika Nicolela and commissioned by the Fine Arts Museum of Le Locle for their digital platform Orbity, is an interactive webpage. So we're going to take a look. And as much as we can, I put it on lo-fi because it is very heavy in the browser, especially if you're recording video. And it's an interactive webpage conceived and developed by Canik Zapata that endlessly generates real-time digital collages as visitors scroll down. So this is pretty cool. We're going to look at this in a second. The project is built upon a living, expandable database of works minted on object from 28 selected artists. So a pretty big show. So as you see here, so that is the heart of the artist statement here. Now here is the show. Let me make sure we are getting, so as you can see, No Hygiene, Mumble Boy, Violet Forest. WebGirl was a great discovery here. WebGirl is awesome, actually. I brought up this work here. I brought up a few works. We obviously can't look at them all, but I thought we could scroll through over here, some works by Canik Zapata, Just Mac, Little Cakes, and everybody. So again, too many people to mention here. But there's a great work by Zofia Gore, and there's a great work by Mumbleboy. So anyways, cool work. There's Haiti Rocket. So lots going on here, and the computer is doing what it can here. We're going to take a closer look at some of these works. So here, Doom and Scroll. So this is by, is this Agnes? It is. So actually the person who we opened with here. And of course, reference to Doom, video games, and teeth. So again, perhaps a little random, but not sure. Doom and Scroll.gif, edition of 8. So these are open editions. All of these works here, and they're slowly starting to load as my computer struggles here. You can get a Zofia Gore for 5 Tezos. Most of them are 5 Tezos. Some are a little more. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw the No Hygiene is 25. So 7 sold here. So they are moving, but pretty reasonable price. I think they're on for another 3 weeks. So they're on for a month, so another 24 days, as it says here. So you can pick up all sorts of cool art here. This is WebGirl. This one is 5 Tezos. It's only 2 minted. I also brought up another work by WebGirl later in the show. Again, cool discovery here. Part of the, this is the No Hygiene work. Again, 25 Tezos. So, so pretty off the wall, as No Hygiene likes to be. John Cates. So all to say, rad show here. Kind of looks like AI. John Cates, a true glitch artist here. Golden Horse. Edition of 6. Here's the Mishi Asu, Information Flood. These are some works that stood out. And here, this gorgeous, gorgeous work. I might need to pick this up by Zofia Gore. Love this piece here. 14 minted, so it's doing quite well, isn't it? And here's Guru Guru Hyena. 3 minted so far. And again, we see the phone is subject here. So here's the website, doomscrolling.net. I'll leave the link below. And as you see here, and I put it on, this is, I believe, as it said in the artist statement, just a generated feed here. I put it on density low because it crashed my computer or my browser because I'm recording video at the same time. So we shall see. And yeah, so here's the website. Go to doomscrolling.net. As you can see, it's pretty cool. And art on screen. So as you see, struggling with the internet here as ever. But as you see, kind of a real-time creation here. And I believe this was put together by Canik Zapata. So nothing quite like that. Doom scrolling is asking you, okay, not going to do that. So all to say, I should close that site. So go check it out on Object and doomscrolling.net. You will see the link below. And let me just make sure it is doomscrolling.net. Excellent. Okay, so once again, thank you to Art on Tezos for sponsoring this week's episode. So no artist statement required. There we go, beautiful Dan Control. Let's see what's going on in the comments on YouTube. Thanks for everything you do, Rada Yankee. Awesome to hear from Rada, classic artist. Probably the first artist I think I collected on Object, so go check him out. Custom Horror, the bottom aligning of elements is so fun, referring to over here, the bottom aligning of a portrait, as I said, a portrait like no other. Indeed, Custom Horror, totally agree. Andre Summer Blues, love this show, Adrian. Great to hear from you, Andre. And Jeff Faust, first, you were my friend, and thank you for posting. Also on X, thank you for the response. 56 retweets, nice views there. David Lockhart, nice to have you back regarding Otzi by Walk. That's a nod to a body found in the Alps in the 90s called Iceman. I've actually heard of that body. I didn't realize it was called Otzi. I recognize the awkward pose and recall the documentary about the find. The body was over 5,000 years old with tattoos. Just a FYI, cheers. I didn't realize it was the Iceman. So very cool. That is a classic discovery there. And so tattoos, can we see them? That is pretty crazy. I don't remember the year that Iceman is considered to be from. I'm guessing it's like 20 or 30,000 years old. Shall we quickly check how old is the Iceman? Because that is actually quite interesting, isn't it? Oh, it's only 3,350 BC to 3,100. So we're talking like ancient Sumeria. So it's actually not that old. It's 5,000 years old. I mean, it is old, but it's actually not as old as I thought. Interesting. But I guess the real excitement here is the fact that how well preserved it is, probably. Interesting. Peter the Roman, great show, Pocobelli. The grok summary of the word salad made me laugh. That was funny. I feel like I did something wrong. I almost felt like it was unfair to the person that wrote that, because I was like, how did that turn into a COVID summary? Anyways, very interesting. Thank you for the comment. Avant Art Representative, you're highly valued in our space. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. So someone from the Avant Art scene, thank you. Musty Art, the Artist Journal, overstimulates me in the best ways. I'm glad to hear. Isn't it great that we have sponsors like we do here? You gotta love it, having, art people sponsoring rather than say a Pepsi commercial or something. So, or what YouTube defaults. I mean, it was a great, this is so much better doing, basically taking charge of basically the sales of the advertising yourself or the sponsorships, shall we say, over letting YouTube do it, and then they give you a few pennies and they destroy your show. Anyways, glad you are enjoying that, Musty. Great to hear from you. Jan Lucas Magone, always fresh. Thank you. Dr. Version, great show as always, Adrian. Thanks for taking a look at my gallery mock-up. You're welcome. That looked great, by the way. I love the kind of passepartout there. Floor, very cool. Thank you for NI4. Oh, now Paris makes sense. A lot of my uni friends showing this here at least. Logistics kept me guessing. Works are a choice. And some painted metal and trash and super lame paintings. I like how Robbie Fitzpatrick dragged young artists making pastel paintings with zero edge. So not sure. Thank you for the comment. I think we might have another one by 4NI4. Thousand Lands, welcome back from your trip. Sometimes I speed watch your shows, which is kind of terrifying over here So anyways, thank you. Whatever works. And here's 494. I think with Charlotte thing is that he didn't get into an art scene. This year I launched Pirate Project. So we're talking about the avant-art voice, one of the preemptive voices of the avant-art scene. This year I launched Pirate Project inspired by Silk Road that he was also a part of in the beginning. And so like he didn't practice what he preached in my experience, but I do have love for Milady folks. It's an interesting scene. And yeah, it's quite interesting. It is very interesting. So we'll continue to follow it. Actually, I have there's one series here of some cardboard boxes full of garbage, I think, that we're going to look at here. So thank you. Time, my statement is good hair. Well, thank you. Yeah, that is an artist statement and a half. Thank you for the compliment. I assume it's oriented towards me. If it's not, apologies. Collector official, brilliant curator there, and a true pirate ship over there in the best possible way. Great to hear from you. Kolema Fuscovirans, in the Bastion we weaponize, I think this is a Nightcore thing, I think. In the Bastion we weaponize everything from linear normie posting to schizocore hypertextualism. The aim is to birth content that is the rupture, it simultaneously sutures. Event horizon stalemate, a hurricane and a snow globe, a siege towards that builds its own walls. So, more overwriting perhaps, not sure, but thank you for commenting and appreciate everything you've said. Because I think we've gotten a few comments from Kalima Fuscovirans. I believe a Nightcore enthusiast. Cider, great to hear from you. And OX Fantasy, great to hear from you as well. We also heard from Dan Control, the artist who we started with on the front page, the newspaper, The Imagination. Special thanks to Adrian, who excellently describes and explains what goes through my mind as I think about a series of projects. I want everything. Why do what I do with brushes, with my eye and hand on canvas, even with vectors? Here's a dialogue is born between the mediums, between the various works, between the creative process and the repetitiveness itself. It is, there's something very conceptually elegant about what Dan Control is doing in the sense, as I titled the show, No Artist Statement Required. Speaks for itself. I start with the idea, then maybe it becomes a painting. Then why not make a perfect copy with gradients? But yes, in the end, maybe it's even better to align and mess everything up. Indeed, you could say it's even better. Do it, anyone can. It's easy. The process and research, however, are fundamental. Indeed. It's so interesting because it is quite simple. Anyone can do it. But nobody has done it that I've seen. At least not like that. And to me, it's obvious, actually, that this is the result of hard work. This is someone who's in the studio working. Then you almost accidentally hit write a line and all of a sudden you see it, and then having the open-mindedness to go, you know what, this is a great idea and this looks great. So it requires being in the studio, working, where all of a sudden accidents can happen, and then having the open-mindedness to embrace the accident and not go, oh, I just need to fix that and put it back how it was. I wrecked everything. So very well done there. Between icons and nostalgia for a very recent past, between contemporary icons, everything becomes digital painting. Some blend together, others remain as they are. Voglio tutto, Maradona exults with open arms, my face is melted. So almost a manifesto of sorts, everything on the same level. This is why it's important to philosophize and rack our brains in combining and innovating. Indeed, combination, a key component of the progress of technology. Still need to return to that work here. I believe it's The Nature of Technology is the name, and combination playing a key role in how technology evolves. And very useful principles to understand here as we deal with a lot of digital art. It's not just about making beautiful illustrations, and that goes for physical art as well, by the way. It's not just about making beautiful illustrations and videos. That's what brands and companies want. Yeah, excellent point. We're not just about making pretty pictures here. I want everything. Thanks again to Pocobelli and Hope Art Basel. Digital isn't just about money or a category to be needlessly elevated. Well, I think you can bet it will be about money, but maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Let's put it that way. We saw in Berlin last week that painting, sculpture, installation, digital, or anything else are on the same level. It's interesting. Yes. So thank you for the comment. Always great to hear from people in the show. Kyle Flemmer, thanks Pocobelli for sharing this work in progress. So my recently posts labeled work in progress are actually finished. I was kind of hoping so. But they're for a blind mint collection and development that I think of as a single project. D Still collection is coming soon. Yeah, these look great. They look very good. Again, a product of working in the studio. 4NI4. Art Basel is so franchisey. Ramelia seeking art auditors is hilarious. So I'm not sure if Charlotte Fang and Ramelia are the same person. I kind of got that impression. So seeking art auditors is hilarious. It was a surprise, considering how kind of edgy and out there the whole situation was. So it's just interesting, and yeah, maybe we don't need to make too much of that, but we'll continue to pay attention anyway and see where it goes. Still learning about that scene. It's only quite new over here. Thank you for the comment. And the retweet. Batsoup Yum. The simple task of displaying a digital art collection sans junk on the internet across multiple owned wallets and platforms has yet to be resolved. And we wonder why it's so hard to onboard new collectors. Now, I guess Batsoup is talking about something beyond Raster. Raster.art, I believe, is the web address for where it's a multi-chain. Secondary market, importantly. It'll be interesting, if they really put everything together and all of a sudden they just flick the switch to, we're primary too. You could totally imagine that happening. For the time being, they're secondary. So now, I guess Batsoup is thinking of something more elaborate, like in the sense of displaying a digital art collection, because it is kind of true. Like, I don't know if you'd say that Raster is, it's not exactly a museum or gallery style. This 3D gallery stuff, though, it never really caught on, did it? I would argue. Maybe it will at some point. Maybe as Apple Vision and all these other technologies happen. But it's interesting how the metaverse has not quite caught on. So if you're not going to do the metaverse, I actually, I think this show is basically a slideshow. And I don't think it's a terrible solution. Basically, just like, it may seem lo-fi in 2025, but a slideshow in terms of a structure is remarkably effective. NFT Biker, a long time I didn't plot something experimenting with P5JS and Posca PC5M. So Posca, of course, being this marker here. And so here, that looks like a digital file. And then here, looks like a plotted rendition with a Posca. Pretty good marker. Posca, I think had Malatov. Those weren't as good, I found. I think Poscas are a little bit more, they bleed a little more in a good way. So cool work here. Never get tired of the plotting. And here it is, Art in America. So October 27th, how Jean Baudrillard turned philosophy into performance art. And this is all being mentioned because there is a new book, biography. So how many paragraphs do we have to get to find out the news here? Jean Baudrillard, as the new biography is titled, is brief. This is part because the man revealed little about his life at a 2005 talk at Tilton Gallery. He said he was simply the simulacrum of myself. So it's quite interesting. It continues to resonate here, Jean Baudrillard. So kind of a classic thinker. If you don't know him, this probably made him the most famous. The Gulf War did not take place in 1991. That was a great title. And of course, America, simulations and simulacra and everything. But all to say, that was a classic, though. I mean, that's when I kind of discovered the Gulf War did not take place. Yes. Okay, as we get into the work here. William Mapon. So this looks like a canvas. Fenêtre bleu, blue window. Of course, having the show here, I think it's Code and Matter in Paris during Art Basel Week. So I think this is Code and now the question is is this physical? I don't think it is, but I think William Mapon sometimes will make physical versions of these digital renditions, but this is code. So quite persuasive here. As you can see, I mean, looking quite convincingly physical. So someone who is really, here's another one. Someone who has really used code to emulate, speaking of Baudrillard, almost to simulate physical materials to a pretty remarkable degree and to create new compositions. So pretty interesting here. Let's see what this is called. Code painting, TM. Interesting. Doing quite well there, as you saw, 74 retweets, 18,000 views. So doing quite well. I think the market for William Mapon after Art Basel and getting that show or doing that show, I think that really helped. And also speaking at Art Basel at the final discussion that they had there in the Petit Palais, I think they call it, which I went to, and that was cool. So here is, I believe it's hard to, this is Hannibal waffles, also known as his dribble waffle, also known as waffles. Loose float. Let's see what happens here. It's getting a little looser. Quite loose here, almost abstract. 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Quite interesting. Addition of 3. Offers coming in at 330 Tezos. Here's another one, ET continuing to kind of alien sounding. Maybe that's pretty fitting for ET. Kind of a big ET and a small ET. Just to give you a taste, 6 minutes and 55 seconds. So very interesting. And a few other works. These were on Foundation, on ETH, sold for 0.28 ETH. Let us take a look here. And this, is that say Hannibal or Hasdrubal? Unclear. So getting more kind of abstract here, isn't it? So cool. That went to Zoltar for 0.28 ETH. Here's another one. Maybe that says Hasdrubal, but now calling himself Hannibal. If the light takes us. So interesting works here. And again, kind of looks like ET. And so, and a dead ET over here, and kind of lo-fi. Sold for 0.15 ETH, Daggy D, ack. So interesting work here. From Waffles, kind of classic skeleton that you can see through. And also ET, seemingly. And here, K-Things, so selling everything, I think. At least most of it. Sold for 0.11, so bringing in some real money here. And as you see here, this kind of texture and what looks like ET again, but at a birthday party or something. Kind of darker looking works, aren't they? Chat. So interesting. And here is the series I was telling you about on VVV, about this collection. So I'm not sure, I don't think they list the artists here. So I thought this was pretty cool. I like that they don't list the artists, by the way, because you kind of focus more on the art. And I could be wrong about that. It may be listed somewhere, but here you see like basically, you know, recycling plastic and paper in a cardboard box. Kind of an original, it's almost like trash art, I was thinking to myself. Like quite, so this is one, how many minted? I think 3 have been minted of maybe 19. So interesting piece that's on vvv. So here's Tokyo Love based reality. And here, haven't seen Tokyo Love for a while. I remember showing Tokyo Love on a very early episode, I believe, and that had an awesome audio. This one doesn't have any audio on it. But cool kind of futuristic Tokyo scenes. And that is an auction reserve starting at 0.15 ETH. And here, just some work on X, Tokyo Love, October 6th. So cool work here, 49 retweets, so getting some love. Here is Yuri J on Super Rare. This was, I think, picked up, sent, so perhaps private sale there. So again, that is on Super Rare. Maybe we'll just leave this here. So cool looking piece there, kind of looks like a queen in a chair, maybe a throne. And here's Scamra, also on super rare. So this is at a list price of 0.169 ETH. And here, interesting piece. Guess we can do this. We'll see how big this is. So this is full size here. So great textures here. Someone kind of seeming to bend over, and maybe they're sick, not sure. What does it say here? Fold. Interesting title. Great color, as usual. Love the shirt on there. Here's Zozo, picked up by Absurdity, sitting on water. Nice landscape by Zozo. Cool chair, kind of surreal chair, sitting on water. Inspired by Hidemi Nishida installation, Fragile Chairs. Very cool. And here is Kurt Hustle Collective, Journal of Sleep number 15. Just give you a little hint here. Digitalk. Nice transition. Beautiful glitches. Journal of Sleep, episode 15, edition of 10. That is 100 Tezos. And how many are left here? One left at 100 Tezos. Here's Gozo, also on super rare. Morning routine. So super rare, interesting, kind of making a bit of a comeback here. I don't know if I'd say it's making a comeback, but it seems to be still onboarding Tezos artists, which is good to see, actually. As well, you know, I was mentioning it at the Art on Tezos event, how it's good to be decentralized, and that also goes for people who are minting on ETH to mint on Tezos. You know, it's good to be decentralized as an artist. At least, so I think. You know, if you care about decentralization, you should be decentralized, and that goes from all blockchains. Because Hero Ahira, kind of a cool GIF drawing, kind of has a physical element, but I'm guessing it's a I'm guessing it's a digital drawing, but unclear, but just kind of original and cool, raw. Here is Ile, Dismas. So this is AI, and cool AI art piece here. Kind of has a bit of a, who is it? Who is the artist that this reminds me of? So this is full size. Kyrie Elason is the description. Dismas, edition of 3, and this is one sold so far, and I think maybe another transferred. This is great. Honorary Mythfit, August Ground. So finally, August Ground is there, immortalized by the myth. So cool work there. Mythfit number 68, sent to August Ground. And here's Nov 1914, really nice still life of flowers, floral piece in a basket. Very detailed work. And nice big gradient in the background for contrast. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And actually, let's just check out the market on that. That is listed for 50 Tezos, edition of 2. Here is a work, this is by Showerman. Showerman, Circus Paralyzed. So one of these, this is probably Circus. Kind of has a physical look to it, but I think it's digital, but not positive. So cool drawings here, regardless, whatever the medium. That is on X. Here's Jake Studios doing a Fringe, I think in Asia somewhere, live at object.com. So Creator Hub Asia presents Group Drop, 32 newly onboarded artists on Tezos, November 13th, 2025. So that is yesterday. And so pretty cool. Love the ad here, and love actually the depth of field, so to speak. fuzziness in the background. Here's Ed Marola on Taya. I thought this was great, actually. Who can't relate to this one? And I love the contrast here, actually, between the details in, I guess, the hair on the head and the beard, and kind of the big, kind of pixelated file folder on your Mac. Pretty cool. Original. Here's the photographer. This is by Recollapse, picked up by Absurdity. And cool kind of GIF painting here. Love the strip of film of negatives that goes down cameras. The photographer. Interesting. Edition of 1, and that sold for 45 Tezos at auction. Pretty good price. Sem Hazimi. So putting out a whole bunch of work on Super Rare. Part of the Never Arrive exhibition, and so I think there are 20 works, and they seem to do pretty well. This sold for $2,400. Nice piece. So if that's the average, this one just kind of jumped out at me, but that's pretty good. So yeah, serious money there being made. I mean, how many times 20? I mean, is that $50,000? If that much was realized on each piece, probably not, but it could be. Here's Haiti Rocket, and who is that? That looks like maybe a Toy Story character, not sure, but putting some sort of character in with an algorithm. Kind of classic Haiti Rocket. This on Taya. Wendy's is the title, and edition of 3. And Haiti Rocket owning 2 of them, and one of them selling for 42 Tezos. Pretty cool there. Here's on Zero Unbound, and this is Ed Wood's Dragon's Fury Fighting Arena. And I think this is exactly, super fake game. So kind of a fun, thing we've seen. Look at this great viewer on zerobound.art. So here, I guess it's a pixel artwork, pesky pixel artwork on chain from Ed Woods, and a simulated game, so to speak. Simulated video games. This is hilarious. So here is Tom Bombadil. GM, have a good week. And so, feeling the Nightcore here in this piece. So cool to see. Again, Nightcore for me is kind of so out of left field, so kind of absurd that I kind of love it. So let's see. Not sure if that was the intent there. Here is Nicholas Dietrich, detail of a new one. So cool colors, again, kind of subliminal colors in that pixel artwork by Nicholas Dietrich. Here's Ripcash. You are now watching Relic 01. So let's see if we can make this a little bigger. So this is max, but we can zoom in. So as you see, is this pixel art? I think we could call it that. But of a really high, large width and height, but still pixel arty, so to speak. Interestingly, put it this way, I think you could still infinitely expand this work, and you wouldn't run into issues as far as resolution. So cool work from Ripcash. Here's Retro Manny, Zavari Warlord. So I think this was on Zero Bound, but I couldn't find it. So here it is on Object. So it looks like a character from a game, APNG, which I've never heard of, stored on chain as base 64 encoded string, 160 by 160 pixels. Font makes sense. Hilarious. And here's Kenix Zapata on Super Rare. How Dark the Night and I Saw You Dance. And so let's go. So here, 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So a little long for us to look at here. We'll see if there's any volume. There is. I'm assuming that's AI audio, but not sure. So pretty wild work. We saw Kenix Zapata put together that website, I think, for the Doom Scrolling show, I believe. And so doing pretty crazy things here with, I assume that's vibe coding. Maybe it's coding and vibe coding. Doing all sorts of stuff. We've seen Kenix Zapata work with Python in, I think, Terminal to get imagery. Interestingly, here's Caving. This is by, the artist is Caving, and the name of the work is Contrarium. This is edition of 5, 4 available. Nice abstract. They've been around for a while and continuing to evolve. Very nice abstract. Here is Rick Austenbroek, GM, highglow.jpg. Cool kind of minimal gradient that is kind of Gaussian blur perhaps. Here's WebGirl again. This was brilliant. There's something about this that really just jumps out at you. Have a deary day. So is in the doom scrolling show. We saw the work earlier. Great work here. Interesting how the color is done. Here is Nebular, and this is on Theia, and so cool analog glitch video using kind of negative space. This is a collect for 8 Tezos, and 5 are left. Beautiful work. Here's Ex Mortal. Ghost Frequencies, this is on Object, and this looks sold out. Edition of 21, transferred to previous collectors, I imagine, or transferred just to other people. Kind of a close-up here on the flowers, and it looks like a city in the background rather than a beach. Continuing with the moon, and again, using AI and then as the source, I believe, and then glitching it out. Super interesting. Here's Elby. Combination, right? Here's Elby with kind of a fun analog video glitch work of a sun with a bit of a face on it. Who loves the sun? And 2 Tezos, 20 available on Theia. And here's Martin Joe with a kind of another kind of edgy work here. And here you see the bears, Kinky Bears, marking the bear. Edition of 1. And what happened here? Sold for 20 Tezos. Good work. Cool work. And here's Rutger. Rutger van der Tas, salmon swimming behind frog eyes. And as you see here, kind of going beyond the frame, so to speak. What kind of file is this again? SVG and XML. So SVG continues to be a super interesting format. Denise Kormas with another, what looks like a physical, but you never know these days because the digital tools are getting so convincing. This looks great. So nice work by Denise Kormas on Theia. That is available for 250 Tezos. And do we have any info? We don't. So it's hard to tell if this is physical or digital. And speaking of physical, this is Die With The Most Likes. Cool work here. America's Got Talent. And so continuing to put out these great paintings. It's, work will get you pretty far. We've watched, Die With The Most Likes evolve here over the years as physicals. So pretty cool there. And that is your show, my friends. I'm off to the airport. I'm going to Taormina, Sicily. So maybe, I'm sure we'll do a show from there. Hopefully we'll have a nice backdrop and everything. Take you along for the ride. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great weekend. Until next time, take care.